Well, as promised, I thought we'd go for a flight. Today's about the best sunny day I've seen in a while. We'll take advantage of it. Got to drop off a load of supplies at Sklisty. Just want to make sure your auto hover is on. On here it makes flying a lot easier. Press Q for your lift. Then you can just slide your mouse to the right, to the left, forward, and back. We have a full tank of gas just about on the upper left-hand corner. Everything's good. Nice little place for a base there. Whoop. Gonna hit free look here for a second. Got to be careful about hitting it. You're used to using the WASD keys. You got to be careful because they're just very quick on here and there's no way of slowing them down. So if you hit one, then the other, you'd end up doing a barrel roll. That looks big enough for a base down in there. Huh. Right beside those striped rows there. Have to see what all those cuts are in the tree line there and why they're there. So, it's sunny today, but a little bit harder to see than I thought. But if you look on the center, on the map here, right on the edge of the map, fly down to Kamenka, then head left, head east. Our speed is 49 in the top center, and then we have 498 for our altitude, and we're headed south. There's something over there to the right that's right along, it's not rendering in anymore, but it's right below. It's probably a person's vehicle. It's very smart. They're up on that demarcation line, far edge of map, but they're right over an edge, sort of in a bowl area. So Q is your thrust or your altitude, and then Z decelerates. Somebody hit something up here, more than likely. I've never seen anything quite like that. It's the biplane. If I can get a good look of it down there. That biplane was in the Northwest Airfield hangar for about a week. Looks like someone got it and somehow landed it up there and using that as an impromptu runway, this ridge. Very nice. So we'll see how this goes today. It's not very clear. As far as the distance goes. And I really want to adjust my graphics settings, but I don't. Speed here. Up, up. Okay, let me try. Yep, we have our visibility set at 10,000 meters. So that's maximum visibility. We're 280 feet or meters above altitude. So this is going to be hard for everyone to see. But just like anything else, sometimes you really got to wing it in Dayz and just see how it goes. I'm going to try to find the key, but there is a key in here somewhere for headphones, I thought, that works on some servers. Or not some servers, some versions of the game. I thought this was updated to the latest and greatest, but I'll have to find it. We're in the AH6X Little Bird. One version of Little Bird they have in the game. Once we get down to the coast, which will be very shortly here, we're going to be able to see a little bit more. So as you can see right now, there is just nothing visible here on this side of the map. Just tons of great places for tents, stashes. Since I'm the only one around, maybe I'll take this opportunity. This will save me a run. Let me show you guys something here. It's a little addition that I wanted to add in for our navigation series. So I told you before that we peel back the layers of the onion on each subject matter, dealing with zombies, navigation, and so on and so forth. So you got to land these things just as gentle as a lamb. You look at your speed up top, it says +6, +7, +5. We're drifting to the right, so we'll counter that. Counter back. Now we're at -1, counter left. Better watch this doesn't get out of hand, because the reaction for this thing is quick. Then we'll scroll down while we're still pressing D, and you can get out while it's on. So I don't have a compass with me. Very rarely carry one, but I want to show you. Right now we're west of Kamenka on the map, in this bay down here. You can see the town of Kamenka. We're right around the bay. The Kamenka is about the last thing on the last set of houses on the west side. But sometimes you will spawn in anywhere in frame here, including over on the left around this bay, Tikaya. But right here is a bridge. This bridge is important. In case you ever get the Kamenka spawn by accident, there's 2 bridges, one for the road, one for the railroad track. You come to the inland bridge, the one that is most inland on the road. Okay? And you sight down this iron at the side of the bridge. So let me get this off my shoulder. So you can see the bridge right here. We're going to line that bridge up just like we did with the base building. And you can pick either side of the bridge. But once you get that lined up, you can see on the cursor here where we're pointing. And that's very important, because that cursor points right up here. And if we keep zooming out, that cursor points to the southern edge of the Northwest Airfield. So all you have to do is line yourself up with this bridge. Right here. So what I do, I haven't done it on this server, but once you line this up, I don't have sights on this rifle yet. You can see a group of pine trees right over there. One little pine tree right there. What you can do is lock your eyes on that, and there's just a group of 3 thick ones there to your right there. Run over there, and you can pop a tent in there, and you can actually make that an emergency stash. So when you do get the Kamenka spawn, and you have to run back up north for one of the missions, which they had 2 missions at Novi and Starry. They haven't spawned in any missions yet. But when you need to get back to Vybor, the Northwest Airfield, you can spawn in here or around the bend, and you can hit this. It's like a inverted Y, an upside down Y. You can hit them and hit your stash, loot up or stock up, gear up, and then go ahead and head north on that heading. And you can look back along that line there and line yourself back up again with the bridge. And the bridge is about, I believe if my memory is right, about 2.5 degrees off of what is needed to run to the Northwest Airfield. So it's pretty much just pointing the way for you. This just runs over the edge of the map on the left. So we'll stay low here, about 70 feet. Try to stay between 100 and 200 feet off the ground. That's the little town of Kamenka that you spawn in. You can see how the roads take off north. They'll have their bends and twists, but just stick on the roads at night. Now it's hard to remember the towns when you're brand new. You have Kamenka, the next one is Komarovo. Then you're going to have Balata and Cherno. And the first initials of those are KKBC. So one of the ways that you can really, this is Komarovo, one of the ways you can really help yourself out with the quick memorization is spend enough time in each town, like I said before, but also come up with something KKBC. Just any little saying that you can come up with. And we used to have one a long time ago, but I couldn't remember that we were coming up with when I was online early on with friends. This is the town of Balata. So if you ever land in Komarovo and want to know how do I get to the Balata airfield? Well, there's the Balata airfield in the town of Balata right there. Balota. Town and airfield, town right there. That's one of the things that you learn when you first start out is everything seems so far away. There's some medical tents with no wrecked vehicles on the road. That's a little bit different than the medical tents that you have over in Kamishovo. But once you get a good view of where you're at, and even if you can beg a helicopter ride down along the shore off of someone, it'll help set into your memory where you're at a lot quicker in the game. So anytime you get a chance to take somebody up on a free helicopter ride, or you can do this by boat too, to go for a day of fishing. And now we're already in Cherno. So let me level the helicopter out here and slow my speed down. That's Cherno. And Balata's just behind us to the left. So they're not as far apart in all actuality as you would think they are. Right, well, it's hard to see now. Right below the tail rotor is a brown house. It's the last brown house before you hit the woods. There's a well there, freshwater well. The tan house across from the gas station has a well in there. And then a brown log home down there has a well. So that's your 3 well locations here. That is the main road going north out of Cherno. There's one to Kozlovka, one to Nada's Dino. But you'll end up pretty much in the same place. It's a pretty big town. You'll see the church down there on the very south shore. It's very, very close to the shore. You can see the spires right over the tail rotor now. You'll hear the church bells from Cherno different times during the day. I have to switch from free looking to flying, or you can just tap on the Y key. Then there's just a little, few little buildings down here and some barns. Up above us on that little dirt path is the red house with a car in it. That's a known vehicle spawn point. Now, after you get past Cherno, it's not that far, 1,000 meters or so, that you can run to the east, and you'll see this rock face cliff out here. And this rock face cliff is one of the first things you really need to recognize, because when you hit the beach, one way to the west or to the left is going to be Cherno, and to the right is going to be Electro. Hard to get lost. There's a lighthouse down there. There's that new fishing boat we found the other day right at the chopper blades up top, going to the right of the screen. There's 3 houses, yellow and green, but mostly yellow. Yellow, brown. Right here, when you get to these yellow houses, there's a well right there. That'll help you on the long run between Letro and Cherno. It's about a 10-minute run on foot, depending on how many shortcuts you take. And then we're already in Electro. So the map, just when you're new and you have no idea where you're going and you're trying to look on a map, you think, I gotta run all the way over there. You're trying to make the run short and quick, but it seems like it's just taking forever. You can identify what town you're in by the looking at the railroad tracks too, the makeup of them. And we talked about that before in an earlier episode. Looking at the layout of the buildings, there's our power station, and I actually ran that set of power lines that runs up on the hill from the power station right there to where the tail rotor's at to Cherno last night in the dark. Another lighthouse with that's on an island, disconnected from the land. So it's our second lighthouse. So when you spawn in and players are trying to help you out and say, well, I'm near a lighthouse, it's on an island. That's our second one so far. You have to give, most people, the mistake they give when they want help, they want somebody to come down and help. Don't give unique enough descriptions of the area they're in. And it's surprising. There's the boathouse where we got our first fishing pole. The town of Komarovo. Or Kamishovo, I'm sorry. Komarovo's on the left. Kamishovo. And then there's the med tents on the road there, but these are junk cars with the med tents. I keep trying to tell myself that this is, just for a nickname, that this is Cammy. Affectionately named Cammy, because I don't want to mix it up with Komarovo, so I purposely try not to. And our next island over here, these islands right here get a little bit swamped at high tide. Our next island over here is Scalisti Island. And we are almost home. Boy, I wish it was a better sunny day, but there'll be more days for flying. I might have to jump onto another server. The weather is controlled by how they set their server up. And I actually enjoy the changes in the weather. I love when it rains at night. I love when it rains hard in the morning. This one has a little bit, it's pretty good. It's about an 8 out of 10 on the lightning scale. There are some servers, as I said before, that would just make you jump out of your skin with the lightning and the thunder coming out of nowhere. And we're on the tip of the island, and you can see the base I worked on last night. Got about 6 hours into that base. I didn't figure out every rock and stone. Calculate up how much I needed, but it was about 60 pieces of stone. You're going to need 120 logs, so it takes a lot of work, especially for one to land a helicopter. Now if you're just building one with I got to get in the other mode or I won't be able to land well. So we're just backing up. What they call the negative 22 kilometers an hour up in the left hand corner. But in the first 30 pieces of stone I broke 4 pickaxes, but luckily I had 5 handles and 8 pieces of duct tape to fix it up. So it is hard to land a helicopter just right because of auto rotation. They want to rotate. And then when you're up in the air, there's another little phenomenon there where the rotor blades are pushing down. So all the massive amount of air that it is pushing down to get its lift is pushing down and away from the helicopter. But once you get towards land, it pushes back. Once you go down in altitude, that starts to give you a little bit of a pushback. And I don't know if it's like that in real life or not. I just had to get this thing down before I started drifting. So I got a couple walls crooked last night. The first three went great. But when I ran this last wall from here to here, I had a 4-foot gap in the center. So that's one of the trickiest parts. You can look over top of this and get a right angle down there very easy, and get a right angle off here just by eyeballing it. But if you're, depending on the size of the base you're building, the bigger it is, the more out of whack it could be. So I did this just for you guys to build straight walls, but it actually would not hurt, now that you can see the helicopter in it, where the tail sits and how you have to land it, to put a big curve in that wall. And instead of 4 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, I could have put 5 sections and put a big bow in that wall, because naturally where you're going to put your helicopter, you're going to need that bow. And these have small blades. You can fit this little bird in a tiny little spot. So I am just loaded down with gear, and I don't think I have any more room. I still have to go back for a padlock, so now I got to dump gear into my outside stash. And you always want to build an outside stash outside of your base. At least I do, and here's the theory behind that. If anybody comes along and desperately needs into my base for antibiotics or anything like that, they're more than welcome to it. You don't have to blow up half my base to get to them or anything like that. I would more than happily give you it. And you can see I did a mission last night, and I had this box of antibiotics, but it just doesn't say 1 dose left. So it's a full box. So there's 6 doses. 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 30 doses of antibiotics. That's enough to last me countless years in this game. So let me see what I want to take here and what I need. So I brought down a couple tents with me. I'm going to show you how to set up a tent real quick, and talk to you more about these stashes just for a second. So setting up a stash outside of your base helps you in case your base is under attack, because you got to have it in a place where you can get to it, but it's well hidden. And it's close, but not too close. So we're going to bring the camping tent over. We're going to take a look. There's no cars down here. There's no vehicles. It's just wherever you want to have it. I already dumped one out on the ground right here. It depends on, I guess it doesn't matter for me. I like to put them by the gate. That's an area that I usually don't use. So you're going to right click on your tent, pitch tent. You're going to be able to use Q and E to spin it. You just walk, it'll follow you. Whoop. Don't have to line these up, but most guys do. Then if you scroll, you can see where it says complete build or cancel build as two as your options. We're going to complete build. Let the animation play through. One of the things I forgot to tell you, we're going to be building more bases, different types of bases. I got at least 2 more I want to build. I want to put this tent inside the other tent because I like to take a tent with me sometimes while I am on missions. Because you can't always get everything you need off that mission before it starts despawning, and you can't get out of there, and you'll accidentally shoot the tire on the car. Accidentally shoot the tire on the car, and you won't be able to drive. Now you have all this good gear that you want to save. Now what are you going to do? But if you have a tent on you, it takes up 3 slots, but at least you'll be able to run to the woods, set it up, and grab as much gear as you can off that mission, and go put it in the woods as a temporary stash, and then come back to it. If you can take the tent down and pack it away, that's great. If you can't, you can just abandon it or use it in a future one. You'll notice also that these missions, I did bring the padlock with me. These missions here, all like the heli crashes, they're all set around the same area. Sometimes you'll catch them, very rarely, but way down on the beach on the shore road. There's a few SEAL team missions and stuff like that. They're down on the shore road. See, we have room for about 10 weapons and about, I believe, 125 items. So the well doesn't work on Scaliste Island on this server, so I just brought water bottles with me. I didn't complain about it, didn't cry about it, just took it as just an extra part of the challenge, that's all. Game on. So let's check and see with this other camping tent. Put into your gear. Move over here. Right click, pitch tent. I like to leave a little gap in between these. Complete the build. You hear it kind of tink, tink, tinking away, pounding in the steps, or the pegs. So 10 guns. The name of the item is camping tent. 10 guns, 130 items, and 5 backpacks. So you can see the little symbol come up there, and we're going to go down. You can upgrade, but I can't remember how to do that. It has to do with crates. We'll work on that. Then there's an option for resting, and resting will, let's click on it. Resting is the one way to raise your blood after you're injured. And it's a resting mode. So you can see the blood is regenerated and the blood is at 12,000. And I can't remember, usually when you're trying to, you have to get out of this resting thing by moving, I believe. Now it says resting interrupted. Resting interrupted, proceed to standing up. Will it let me stand up today? There it goes. It's just slow. There we go. Another thing you can do is scroll on it, and on this server, it doesn't work all the time. You can pack the tent. And we'll get more into that, how to deal with your blood, and then it will say take camping tent. I went a little too quick. There we go. Now we can take it and we can move back over here. We can place it back in. Find our sandbag. Well, maybe I'll save that for, well, later. I'll do it now. So over in this corner, I am going to place in an exact spot here, if I can get it. Clicking on build will make a short sandbagged wall. And we're going to click on create stash. You can see it moving down there in front of me. We're going to place it about a foot from the wall and complete build. Once I keep upgrading this wall, you'll see that this thing's going to be tucked in, hopefully in just the right spot. We're going to open it up. You can hold 0 guns. The name of it is stash. 0 guns, 12 items, 0 backpacks. So the items are 0 weapons, let's say. It's better to use the term weapons instead of guns. You'll have to get used to that. This rifle is a weapon. But just like on the vehicles, and let me go chop wood while we do this so I don't bore you to death, because this is very important too. Remember how we talked in an earlier episode about vehicles, whether it's a boat, a helicopter, a bicycle, ATV, fishing boat, helicopter, airplane, it doesn't matter. The computer, for some things, sees them all as vehicles, as groups. The computer knows, put the boats in the water, of course, and put the cars on the ground, on land. But for some, like spawning in and putting gear in there, it acts like a vehicle. Now with these stashes, there are things that they need to group together and call weapons, and they take up, each one of them takes up 1 weapon slot. So you and I think of weapons as, well, that's your pistol and your rifle, or maybe a melee weapon, and there's 4 melee weapons, so you can understand that. So you say, okay, now it's rifle, pistol, and 4 different melee weapons, which we know by now are the baseball bat, machete, crowbar, and axe. But when you build stashes, the stashes see weapons as what takes up a weapon slot is way more than that. And this is how you are going to lose gear. So we know that when we click on this, we have 0, 12, and 0. 0 weapon slots. So if I go to throw my gun or my pistol in here, it'll either bounce out onto the ground somewhere or just despawn immediately. And what does a stash consider a weapon? Well, there's quite a long list. The rifle, the pistol, your melee weapons, which are axe, my axe, but also a toolbox, a map, a knife, a GPS, a shovel, a pickaxe, these books, e-tool, and matches. So all these items are weapons too. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Binoculars, range finders, night vision also. So if you get to the point where, say, you can store 5 weapons or 10 weapons in a tent, tents act the same way. They're storage. A stash is storage. So we just added 1 wood pile. Now we have 0, 14, and 0. Scroll down and upgrade. So if you have slots available for 10 weapons and you put 10 guns in there because you're gun happy and you can't get enough guns, now we have 16. Then when you go to throw your rangefinders in there, kiss them goodbye. So you got to be very careful you don't get to the tipping point where you throw stuff out. Sometimes it'll bounce it out onto the ground, and other times it won't. Now we have 18. We're going to continue upgrading just with wood piles for now. The last two upgrades require nails. I'm doing this slow more for my own benefit than yours. Now we got 20. One wood pile left here. And there's an advantage, even though you can't store weapons in here and you can't store backpacks, because those are both at 0 now for what it lets you do. There's an advantage to having a stash that is just that small dirt pile, because they are way easier to hide in game. So now we can, once we get to, we go from 20 for one pile. It was jumping up 2 at a time, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Now with one wood pile, it jumps up 5 and 1 slot, as you can see there. It has this little white lip across there, which makes it a little bit easier to see. And I used to think, well, they made a mistake with that. Why did they do that? Didn't they see that when they designed it? That's done on purpose. It's to help you see at night. Because you can, once you get good at this, a little bit of practice, you can spin that around and have that white facing, like, say, into the wall, into a pine tree, to where it's not nearly as noticeable. So we're going to come back down here, upgrade. Our numbers up top are 1, 25, and 0. Another reason you need a notebook by your desktop so you can remember all this, so you can build it to the biggest size of a dirt pile before you get to overbuilding it, if you want to keep that small. Now we're at 2 and 50 for one wood pile. So we gained a lot just by having that extra wood pile. And I see I could have put this towards the wall in the back 6 inches, and it's 4 and 75 now. And I need to build this one to max size so I can store all those extras. And down here I'm not worried about guns. I just need a few, maybe 4 different types of guns. I'm happy. 8 and 100, and now an extra backpack. But sometimes you'll want to get this up to as big a dirt pile as you can before it gets too out of hand and gets to this big one, so you can hide it easy. And we're going to check the size. Now this is a stash medium plus 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 plus. I have no idea why they named it that, but that sounds like computer talk, so they can name it like that. But holds 16 guns, 125 items, and 1 backpack. So now I know that I have that to the fullest size. And you'll see on this 16 over here, when I move the GPS over, now it's 15. If I get rid of my books and the pickaxe, now it's going down to 12 because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 items over here. So I may have to build another stash. Luckily, I got a ton of room to do that. So I'll be back in a second. I want to gather up some gear and get all geared up so I can show you how to finish off the walls and the gate.